Night Swim is a brand new 2024 January horror film directed by Bryce McGuire, and this is based on a short film also written and directed by Bryce McGuire. Bryce McGuire also wrote this film and he produced it. He's behind it quite a bit. This is also produced by Blumhouse, and basically with that, it really is a stereotypical January PG-13 horror film, and I've heard nothing but negative talks on it, to be honest, and I was really scared going in because I myself was prepared for something that was going to be very underwhelming and something that I'm just not generally into as a whole. I find these films a little bit too half-assed, a little bit boring, and just too mainstream, essentially. They just don't hold any elements usually to them that really blow me away. I mean, everyone, it's not because it's PG-13 or because it's designed for a younger audience or anything like that, because many films have done a great job with that. You have the Conjuring universe, you have The Ring, which is one of the best to do something in that style, but nothing in this film was really selling me. And for the most part, it wasn't mind-blowing. It pretty much was what I expected, although I didn't hate it, and it wasn't a complete waste of time, and I've seen much, much worse, but it is 100% generic, and it really is pretty much, for the most part, what you're expecting when it comes to the acting, when it comes to the plot, for sure. I will say that this film holds zero scares. I don't mean like even slim to none. I mean absolutely nothing when it comes to the horror department. Nothing got to me. Nothing got under my skin. Everything is very ridiculous, very generic. Depending who you are, again. I mean, if you're susceptible to creepy films, maybe it'll get under your skin, but to me it's just everything I've seen before and nothing done very well. The best thing this film has going for it, I think, is the camera work. The camera work is fairly well done. You can tell this film has quite a high budget and definitely has a lot to work with when it comes to quality behind the scenes. And when it comes to the acting, it's good enough. You got Wyatt Russell, who definitely knows exactly what type of film he's in and delivers his performance well for what he's given. And although the script is kind of mediocre, he does the best with it. And in the third act, when he starts to go in creepy mode, I think he has the facial expressions to pull it off. A lot of people were picking on him and saying that like he just can't be scary and can't play horror and isn't intimidating whatsoever. I think he pulls it off just fine when it comes to especially the facial expressions, especially when with the I don't really know how to put it, but I guess the menacing facial expressions that he had. I think he did a good job. Kerry Condon is also interesting to see in here, being that she was nominated so recently for an Academy Award for a much more tremendously good performance than what was asked to be done here. Not that she's bad or anything, but I mean, when it comes to the quality of the type of film and what's being asked of her, it's a major dip in like heaviness kind of intensity of a performance, but she obviously delivers just fine, and the kids are fine too. You have, I'm trying to remember the actress's name, Emily Hofery or something like that. I'm definitely butchering that name, but she was definitely really good in her role. She was definitely eye candy in this film, and looks great and performs well, and again does exactly what was asked for her. And then the little guy, the son, I forget his name, but he did a really good job too, again doing what is asked of him. I really wish that this film had a little bit more scares and a little bit more creep factor. That was the most disappointing thing about it, for sure. Some of the things try, but they just don't succeed. The camera work is the best, like I said, and they do a good job filming scenes to make them as creepy as possible. But when it comes to like even the creature effects, I really wish they didn't show the creatures in this film, because they are absolutely horrendous. When you see the demons or the hauntings or whatever the hell they are, when they are shown, I mean, one of them looks like the Sith Lord from Star Wars, except fat and bald. Like, it's really weird. And then there's this manifestation of this witch-looking thing. There's also a scene involving the mom talking to a previous owner of the house. And during that scene, they really try to ham in with the creepiness and the this previous owner of the house, like she starts to kind of manifest and transform into something. But the scene just comes off very hokey and very unintentionally comedic, and it almost gets a little bit onto exploitive territory. So I was watching it and I was just like cringing at the attempt at creepiness because it just was not working. And like I said, it almost hits like exploitive territory. So I was just like, ugh, this is not working so much. Sometimes subtle is better, and I think this is a situation where subtlety probably would have been better in a lot of the horror elements to this. I will mention too that there are in particular scenes where characters are speaking to each other. There's one that comes to mind when the husband and wife are in the car, and because the father has MS, he starts to have this episode, this kind of coughing fit and having trouble breathing, and just the reactions from the wife and the kids are so unrealistic. They're not panicking as much as they should be, and it's just a very strange scene. And there's some things that happen throughout, like even with the ending, and there's this scene in particular after a party where two characters are talking, and it definitely seems a little bit not exaggerated, but people, when somebody says something and then another person will respond, the response just seems so awkward, so unfitting, so unnatural, and things like that will happen every once in a while. So I think that just comes down to the writing and the directing, but you know, it is what it is when it comes to the territory kind of thing. And then everything else is just really, really, really basic level PG-13, you know, haunted scenario type deal kind of thing. They do give a little bit of explanation that I actually found interesting, and again, I wish they dove a little bit deeper. This, if somebody told me that this was based on like a J-horror property or like an Asian cinema urban legend or something like that, absolutely I would believe it 100%. Maybe it is. It wasn't explained in the film or anything, but it could possibly be. But I can definitely see some like Asian lore, or this being a remake of a J-horror movie, which it is not. But if somebody told me it was, and I was like, I didn't do any research, I would believe it hands down. It has that grudgy feel. It has that you know, kind of tropiness that came out in like 2000. It doesn't feel like a 2000s film by any means, I'm not saying that, but it definitely feels like that kind of teen horror movie that honestly did give me a little bit of nostalgia watching it, because I haven't watched a film like this in this kind of style in a long time. So watching it and seeing how the film plays out, it did bring up a little bit of nostalgia for me for films that I used to watch a lot more of when I was younger, when I was like teen, especially because I had extremely strict parents that would never let me watch anything rated R. So sometimes I would just have to resort to PG-13 because that's pretty much all I would be able to get away with kind of thing. I will also bring up that there's some flashback scenes, being that the dad, played by Wyatt Russell, is a baseball player, so it'll show some flashbacks with him playing baseball like professionally. I really like the way those scenes were shot because they get a little bit more creative with the color palettes, and they seem kind of dreamlike. They seem very bigger than life, and I liked those moments. So that was nice. And like I said, the explanation for like the horror and the haunting side of things was interesting. They don't do a whole lot with it, but it was interesting. And I just wish this film was scarier, basically. But I mean, the thing is, it's like I'm totally indifferent with it because it could be way worse, but it obviously could be way better. So I'm really in the middle with this one. I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5 because it's nothing I'll be dying to rewatch. It's probably nothing I'll buy. But I'm glad I'm glad it didn't piss me off, and it entertained me enough for the time being, and it didn't anger me as a PG-13 January horror film. So that's already a win in itself, kind of. So, but basically that's all I got on it. So take it as you will. Go see it if you like, or just wait for it to stream. And that's my take on it. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.